Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Million Pound Mission Podcast. It's your buddy Adam, the PhD, the previously heavy dude, and this is episode number 334, Getting Out of Your Own Head About the Scale. Yes, our old friend, the Scale, returns for another interview. This is something that happens to a lot of us. It happens to the best of us. It happens to pretty much anybody on a weight loss journey, so we're going to dive into that, and I'm going to help you get out of your own head about that scale. But first, I want to catch up a little bit. Hopefully you guys are staying healthy. Hopefully things are going well. I'm recording this on Wednesday, April 1st. So I'm about 20 days ahead of when this will actually go out on the 20th. So I'm hoping over the next 20 days, things improve with the whole pandemic, the coronavirus, all that stuff. Hopefully you guys are staying safe. You're doing your self-distancing and staying healthy. The family and I are doing well so far. It's a real trip. Doing the whole at-home schooling with the kids. I'm in charge of that. My wife is still able to work. She's a physical therapist, so she's treating like post-op patients and things like that. But it's a trip. Like the kids are doing well. I'm relearning math and language arts skills myself. My son has to do third grade homework, and I'm like, ooh, some of the problems. I'm like, I'm not so sure, and I'm getting some things wrong. And then he gets kind of pissed off at me because I gave him the wrong answer for his third grade homework. But anyway, the point being, I hope you guys are staying safe, staying sane, listen to some podcasts, and staying positive about the situation. Now, with our community, with the Mission Possible community, we are in week number 3, and we've got some announcements of things you can plug into both this week and things coming up that will help, with the whole community aspect of things if you still are in quarantine mode. And one thing is this week is challenge week. Every week 3 in our 28-day cycle, we do a new challenge. It's very simple. We usually monitor this inside of our Facebook community. And you guys can dive into all of the free community aspects through millionpoundmission.com and just opt in with the Mission Possible community link at the top of the page. But this week we're doing a minimalism challenge, and it's super fun. This is one of my most popular challenges that I do, where each day I will challenge you to declutter and donate one item. And so like day 1, you will, if you're like, I'm going to be working on my garage area this time. Last time I did this challenge, I worked on my desk, my work area. So on day 1, I'll take one item from the garage, put it in the donation box. On day 2, I'll find 2 items, put them in the garage. So by day 7, you're taking 7 new items that day and putting them in the donation box, and you have successfully decluttered one area of your home. And I think this is a great time to do this one. So that'll be happening this week. And we've got a group chat this week. You can tune into that. And I'll post the replay in the Facebook group. And then next week, we've got our next round of one-on-one hot seat sessions. And again, you can access all of the free awesomeness through millionpoundmission.com. At the top of the page, the Mission Possible community, just opt in there and enjoy the free community. And this is, again, I'll keep saying it's more important now than ever to plug into a community. I know how awesome it is to just like, yesterday I did a whole bunch of hot seats and one-on-one business calls and coaching calls and things like that. And it's just so nice to talk to other human beings outside of my kids. and I love my kids, but being in quarantine mode for all of us, we can feel like we're on an island, and it's important to get out there and connect with other human beings. So we'll provide plenty of opportunities to do that. Speaking of that, I got something new cooking for you. This is a breaking news. Next Monday, April 27th, I am launching a brand new challenge, and this is a paid challenge because we got some extra bells and whistles happening here. It is a Fit and Flirty challenge, a 14-day Fit and Flirty challenge. I'm partnering up with my good friend Kim Seltzer, who is a world-renowned fashion and self-confidence coaching expert. So we're doing Fit and Flirty. I'm gonna work on the fitness end with your nutrition and fitness ramp up. We got some special things planned there. And then she's gonna work on your fashion, your self-confidence, your sexiness, and really use some of this quarantine time, this self-isolation time to work on our own self and ramp things up. Now, this is a ladies only challenge, but it's not a singles only. So if you're married and you just kind of want to boost your self-confidence, your fashion, the way that you represent yourself, this is going to be an awesome, awesome challenge for you. Check it out at millionpoundmission.com. I'll have information towards the top of the page there for you. Again, we launch a week from today. That is Monday, April 27th. And it's a $97 challenge, so the price is right. 14 days, we're going to level you up for the entire 14-day period. I think you will enjoy it. It's different than anything else I've done. So check it out. If you're looking for something to plug into and ramp up your mojo a bit, then dive on in. Okay. Speaking of diving on in, I think it's time to dive on into this episode and talk about the scale. And I wanted to talk about this today because a lot of us are left at home in isolation mode with the scale to answer to, and it's going to be very tempting to weigh very often and to get in our head about that. And that's just something that happens, again, like I said at the very beginning, pretty much everybody on a weight loss journey eventually finds itself kind of getting in their head about a scale a little bit, like, oh, why am I not down more? Or why did I go up? Or, like questions like that. But some people take that to a whole new level where they are really, really a very negative relationship with the scale. And, obviously I've been in the game for a couple of decades now, and it's something that I've dealt with for especially the last decade as I focus more on weight loss with my boot camp and my gym and things like that. Like, I learned early on that people really, the scale, I always say the scale makes really, really intelligent people say and do really, really non-intelligent things. It's like this brain warp. You step on there and you start doing dumb stuff. There's a scenario like when people are getting in their head about it, I go, okay, let's just say that when you started, I'd say, okay, in the first couple of weeks as I coach you, you're going to lose 5 pounds of pure body fat. We're going to shred that off your body. And then we're also going to put on 5 pounds of nice, lean, beautiful muscle. Would you be happy with those results? And like 100% of the people are like, yes. I go, but if we add 5 pounds of lean body mass, take away 5 pounds of fat, on the scale, that's going to say 0. And that kind of blank stare goes across their face like, oh, I don't like that. But you just said you'd be all about it a second ago. But you're looking at those things individually, but when we combine them for a 0 sum on the scale, that's what we have to remember. And it's really hard to do that. So no matter how accurate our body fat testing is and people getting, body fat scans and all that, like technology is improving to where we can really get this type of information. Like, yes, I did add 5 pounds of muscle and I did get rid of 5 pounds of fat, and that's why the scale says 0, but that's expensive. It's not readily available. So a lot of people are just stuck with the scale and they're wondering, why didn't it move? All right. And that's where the frustration starts. Another funny story I like to share every so often is when I did my very first boot camp with my clients here locally. I learned the lesson to not give them my personal cell phone number very quickly because with the first week of the boot camp, I was getting text messages from people like they would say, oh, I've gained 0.7 pounds since this morning. What am I doing wrong? Where they were weighing themselves throughout the day. And I was just like, so you weighed yourself this morning when you woke up, and then you weighed yourself at like lunchtime? Like, yeah, I'm up 0.7 pounds. What's going on? I'm like, did you eat anything? Did you drink water? Because that's where it's coming from. And well, how do I burn that off? I'm like, you are in your head about this. You are overthinking this. You are overanalyzing it. Let's fix this scenario. So that is when I implemented the 14-day weigh-in rule. I'm like, and I also implemented a rule of you don't get my cell phone number anymore. And I won't answer any questions like that about you weighing yourself. If you ask me questions based off of you weighing yourself, I won't answer them unless it's once every 14 days. So I had to kind of lay down the law with my clients in that first boot camp. That was a lesson learned for me. And now that's just kind of the rule of thumb that I use with anybody that I coach and any people that I'm trying to recommend a weigh-in protocol to. I love the 14-day weigh-in protocol. And I know that some of you are like, I weigh in every day. It's my accountability. Like my friend Fat Dag from the Wise Advice podcast, he's all about that. It's the thing that kind of keeps him true to his game plan. But there are a few key areas or signs that you need to be watching out for to where you may need to really think about spacing out your weigh-ins with something like my protocol once every 14 days. So a couple signs you need to look out for that are big, flashing red alarms. Number one is if you adjust your daily game plan depending on what the scale says. So example, okay, I'm down 2 pounds from yesterday. I don't have to be as strict today. Or I'm up 2 pounds from yesterday. I'm not going to eat as much today. If it's a daily or almost a daily adjustment based off of what the scale says to you, then that's a huge alarm sign that we need to back off on weighing in so often. The second alarm that we need to look for, the second sign, is that if you have a big weight loss goal that you're really getting close to, and your weight loss has stalled as you approach that. As in, like, maybe it's been a decade since you've been under 200 pounds. And you're like, oh, I'm so close to being under 200 pounds. And I lost the first 80. And now the last 10 are coming off so slow. And, you're weighing yourself. You fall into that I'm not there yet syndrome, that mindset. You put pressure on yourself. You beat yourself up about it. That decreases your willpower. You're probably making some nutritional mistakes because of that. The anxiety, the stress, hormonally, that doesn't help. That slows everything down. So if you are approaching a major goal really in your head about not being there yet, quote unquote, then this would be a great time to space out your weigh-ins and do the 14-day protocol. All right. So I'll give you an example there where I had a client early on that really wanted to hit 40 pounds. Like 40 pounds was the magic number. She was all about it. First 25 came off super easy. It was just kind of a low pressure, put in the work, getting the results down, and it was working. 25 pounds, I think in the first 8 weeks. And then goal was 40. We got over 30. And at my gym at that time, you had to eclipse that 30-pound mark. We had a recognition board. So she went up on the 30-pound club board, and it's all, sunshine and rainbows and unicorns at that point. But then that next 10 pounds went super slow because she started to weigh herself in between the biweekly weigh-ins that we had scheduled. And she was getting in her head about it, just like I explained earlier. And she was really getting anxious about it. It was screwing up her sleep. It was screwing up her nutritional choices. And then she'd weigh in and be like 0.3, 0.7, up 0.5, back and forth. And I noticed after a couple of months of her just being stalled out, and like, what's wrong? What am I doing wrong? Putting so much pressure on herself. I said, okay, here's the deal. No more at-home weigh-ins. And we're only going to talk in terms of how much you've lost since you first started. We aren't going to measure from weigh-in to weigh-in. We're going to measure from how much you've done since you first started. So we're not going to say, oh, I'm down 0.3. We're going to say, oh, I'm down 30.3 pounds since I started. Awesome. Because it's like I said, the scale makes really intelligent people think unintelligently, where you have accomplished something major, losing 30 pounds, and then in that next weigh-in, you are, quote unquote, only down 0.3. That's the new validation that you focus on. And I'm like, no. It's not 0.3 in the last 2 weeks. It's 30.3 in the last 10 weeks. That's amazing. And so we have to shift that thinking. We shifted that thinking with her. She knocked out 40 pounds within the next couple of weigh-ins, within the next month. Then she went on to 50 and just gone on to crush it. So that mindset shift is that important. It can be that big of a difference maker for people like yourself. So let's talk about a few tips, and then I'm going to wrap up with an action plan, a suggested action plan for those of you that are struggling with this concept a little bit. So tip number 1 is don't weigh yourself every day. Use the every 2-week protocol and have a consistent prep environment. So I love a Sunday weigh-in, every other Sunday, do a weigh-in, do a prep so that you have a certain protocol where you stop eating, usually, 10 hours before you're going to weigh in the next day. Don't eat a bunch of salt so you're not retaining water. And don't do anything. Like some people I got to sit in the sauna and sweat. Like that's dumb. Don't do that. Just cut off your eating about 10 hours before. Have a regular routine. Don't weigh in. I like a 6-day separation between weigh in and your last cheat meal, because some people will hold on to that water weight that long. Don't crush a killer workout the day before so you're not sore and retaining body weight. Have a little bit of a prep. And so you have real apples to apples comparison. Now, that being said, the scale is one of the least reliable data points we have, period. So if you are sore, if you're sick, if you're stressed, if you're not sleeping well, if you have too much sodium, hormonal cycles for women, all of those things can make the scale do crazy things that don't make any sense. So take this whole thing with a grain of salt, where if you know you're doing all the right things and your weigh-in's not exactly what you expect, even if you do it every 2 weeks, don't beat yourself up about it. That's ridiculous. It's kind of like saying, I view the weigh-in in the same threshold as a push-up test. So let's say I was your personal trainer and we were going to do a push-up test to see how many push-ups you could do consecutively once every 14 days, just as a benchmark to measure our strength progress. Now, let's say during the first measurement period, you did 14 push-ups in a row, and then the next measurement period, you did 15 push-ups in a row, or even like down, you're like 12. I'm not going to overhaul your whole program. We're not going to get depressed about like, oh, I did 14, then I did 12. Something's wrong. Like, what are we doing wrong? Like maybe you just had a bad day. Maybe you're just tired. Maybe you're sore from a workout earlier. Who knows? But we're not going to overhaul everything. It's just a data point. That's the same thing as the weigh-in. And if we're looking at everything in the big picture, if you're doing the right things, if you're eating in a healthful way, if you're having clean eating, if you are getting out and sweating, if you're sleeping, if you're drinking water, like if you're doing all those things and the weigh-in does something a little bit weird, we can't stress out about it. I know that's an almost impossible thing for me to say to you, but we have to do our best to not stress out about it. And as we cross that barrier of not really freaking out about a weigh-in that doesn't make sense, once you have that ability, the game really shifts for you. So that's something we can all strive for. Not always easy, but it's something we can strive for. So the first tip is don't weigh yourself every day. We got to quit that for 99.9% of people out there. Number 2, have non-scale based goals. So really have something else that you can focus on. I talk about this when I teach people the transformation timeline and the 3 phases. And the third phase is what I call new purpose, new identity. And that is where we have, we eventually run out of weight to lose. We run out of real estate to sell. So we need to come up with something to focus on as we're nearing the end of that journey. So if you're in that position, set an endurance goal, a strength goal, an event or obstacle course race goal, life goals like dating or being able to ride roller coasters or airplanes without the extension seatbelt. So things like that, non-scale based goals are huge. So we need to have those in place. So that's the second tip. Tip number 3, we have to shift our focus to action steps or like something like attendance-based goals. That's another shout out to my friend Fat Dag from Wise Advice Podcast. He talks about show-up goals, attendance-based goals, and I want you to choose a show-up goal or goals that really lead to weight loss. So things that we know if we do this, it's going to trend towards us getting healthier, which trends towards us losing weight. So the focus point isn't have I lost weight or not, pass, fail, grade. It is an attendance-based grade, which was always, that was always great for me in college. When I can just get an attendance grade and I can just go sit my butt in the seat and get an A because I set my butt in the seat versus taking the final exam and failing it, pass, fail. The attendance-based goal is always the better. I could show up and you guys can show up. So things that we know that we can do as a show-up goal that will produce positive results and help us trend the correct direction with our weight loss, things like spending some time doing affirmations, spending time journaling, going to all your scheduled fitness sessions, mapping out a cheat bank, like I talked about a couple of episodes ago here on the show, working out 3 hours per week, sleeping at least 8 hours per night, just things that we know work and setting up an attendance-based goal around that. So instead of obsessing about the scale, like, I weighed in today and what's the magic scale going to tell me today? It's, okay, today's Wednesday. I'm scheduled for a personal training session. I got to get there, or I got to get to the gym and do my hour of weights, or today's meal prep day. That has to happen because that's something I've committed to. That's one of my show up goals. All right. Tip number 4, got to be willing to give this a shot and do a scale detox. Yes, I am calling this a scale detox. If you are somebody that the scale is really in your head and you beat yourself up because of what that scale is telling you, let's do a 14-day detox. All right. It's something, it's kind of like those movies. Like I'm big, Henry and I watch the Avengers. We're watching all of the Marvel movies from the first one to the most current one in order of like the timeline. And the first Avengers movie, Loki has that staff where he like touches it to people's chest and he can like control their mind. And that's kind of the way I view this scale for a lot of people. Like it infects you and all of a sudden it's controlling your mind. It's making you do non-intelligent things. And we need to detox you out of that. All right. Get so that your eyes aren't glowing light blue anymore with the scale powering every decision, and to take that away and to reclaim control of your own mind. So let's talk about a little action plan that you could implement And if you are willing to do this, if you're making some of those mistakes, if you're having a lot of like, yeah, Adam's in my head right now, he's reading my thoughts, then here's what I want you to do. So the first thing is we're going to make a list of at least 5 show up habits that will lead to positive weight loss results. So just like I talked about, like an attendance based, a show up based habit or goal that you're going to focus on over the next 14 days. And if you want to make it, I'm big on the 28-day cycle, you can make it a 28-day thing, but at least 14. So here's an example of 5 show up habits. Number 1, I'll go to bed by 9 p.m. each night. Number 2, I will sweat for 30 minutes each day. Number 3, I will meditate for 15 minutes each day. Number 4, I will meal prep every Wednesday and Sunday. And number 5, I will stay active in the Mission Possible community each week for accountability and support. So think about it. If you commit to those 5 show up habits and you do that consistently over 14 days, do you think your health, aka your weight loss, will be positively or negatively impacted? So we're going to bed on time, getting sleep. We're sweating every day. We're meditating and kind of detoxing our thoughts and our minds each day, de-stressing. We're meal prepping, and we're staying active in the community with accountability. Like if you can show up for those 5 things, and you don't have to pick those 5. This is just an example of what I would suggest. You're going to have positive momentum, and with positive momentum comes positive results. And that is what it's all about. No matter what that scale says, you will have been able to check all those boxes and tell yourself, I'm doing what it takes to succeed long term. All right. So again, make a list of 5 show up based habits. There's an example of the 5. Second thing I want you to do is tell somebody that you trust. You guys are going to love this one. Tell somebody that you trust to hide the damn scale for 14 days, and don't let them tell you where it's at. Like, give them the date and the time the scale reappears wherever it's supposed to be at for you to do your weigh-in, and then it shows up. Like, your kids will have a blast with this. Like, it'd be like, you got to hide it so I can't find it, because I'm going to try to find it, and you got to hide it. And you obviously don't break it or anything like that, but then it's going to show up in 14 days. Here's the date. Here's when I get it back. Do not let me find it. And make a little fun. If you're still under quarantine, you can make it a fun little family game of hide the scale so that mom or dad cannot find it. So that's the second thing. And then the last thing is, I want you to have a relaxed mindset about your weigh-in when you do weigh in after 14 days. Again, some of you will trend towards being like, okay, Adam's giving me the protocol here, and if this doesn't work, I'm going to be pissed. Like, he told me not to do this for 14 days. And if I do all this stuff and my weight is up, then, Adam is a moron or whatever. Like, I have people do this, and sometimes I get some negativity blowback. Like, it's supposed to fix everything. But again, that if you're a female and your period starts the day before, guess what? Weight's probably going to be up. If you worked out the day before, didn't have a good weigh-in protocol, ate a bunch of salt or whatever, weight's probably going to be up. So the whole weigh-in protocol, the goal isn't to fix everything, and it's not like a guaranteed weight loss. What it is guaranteed positive momentum. As long as you mentally can handle, no matter what that scale says, you did the right things, you put in the work, you showed up for your goal and for yourself and for your health for 14 days in a row, and you did that. That means no matter what the scale says, we're good. And that's just a data point. It's a blip on the radar, good, bad, or ugly. It's a blip on the radar, and we don't necessarily need to change much of anything. Now, if you are using a cheat bank protocol and you used 12 cheats over 14 days and you did gain weight, what do we say? All right, let's trim that back. Let's try 8 or 7 or maybe 4 this next 28-day cycle. So what can we learn? The scale can be a teaching tool. We can learn from it if we're consistently and consistently implementing a plan, but also doing it rationally and not emotionally. So instead of, we can adjust our plan based off of what the scale tells us if it's a rational decision, not an emotional decision. So emotional example would be, I weigh in every day and I adjust what I'm doing based off of what the scale tells me, whether I can eat or not. That's bad. A rational decision would be, okay, I've weighed in once. It's my 14-day weigh-in and I'm up. I probably took too many cheat meals. I did 14 cheat meals in the last 14 days. Then, okay, next 28-day cycle, I'm going to go to 10 cheat meals. I'm going to do fewer cheat meals. That's a rational decision based off of the information the scale is giving us. And Another example would be if you're doing some sort of endurance test or a strength test and you didn't get the results that you had expected, you say, okay, what can I learn from this? Did I not peak correctly? Did I not give myself enough recovery time before the test? Did I injure myself? So you have to think rationally with any data point, and the scale is just one of those data points, my friends. So I hope that you got some value out of this one. This is an important one. And again, if at this time, if we're still under quarantine status and still dealing with all that, which it kind of looks like we're going to be, I think this is a really good idea for a lot of people. Play the game that's going to rock the nation, hide the scale, and let's see what happens with this little 14-day scale detox protocol. And if you get some good results out of this, or if you have questions about it, hit me up. Let me know how it goes. There's a contact us button at millionpoundmission.com that'll go directly to my email. You can always hit me up on Instagram at millionpoundmission. Just send me a DM, and I respond to every single one of them. I have a 100% response rate on that. Let me know how it's going. Let me know what you're struggling with. Let me know if you have ideas, like community-wise, or challenges that you want to see me implement to put in the community out there. It's all about you guys right now. It's a big part of my identity. After losing 100 pounds, as I made that shift, a new purpose, new identity. A big part of that is you guys, and helping you guys, and helping people get through rough times like this. So let me do that. Tag me in if I can help out with anything. And together we'll get out there and own it. Every meal, every workout, every day. I will see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. Now, don't forget to head on over to millionpoundmission.com to pick up your free Mission Possible Community Virtual Welcome Kit. Now, this free resource is going to show you how to get plugged into our community chats, our amazing Facebook group. It'll show you how to sign up for one-on-one hot seat sessions with me, the PhD, and we'll even show you how to start your own local meetup group for that extra support. Now, remember, my friend, this isn't just a podcast. This is a community, and you are an important part of it. So head on over to millionpoundmission.com today and get plugged in.